Hello everyone, welcome to Selah as we journey through Lent together. We're into week 3 of exploring spiritual disciplines, and today is Wednesday, where our focus is on the discipline of fasting. I'm Elizabeth and I welcome you to join me in today's episode.
I will stop and breathe in your presence, just breathe, just breathe.
Have you been fasting along with me? I'd love to hear about how it's going if you are. If you've tuned into the last 2 Wednesdays, you'll know that I've committed to fast and drink just water 1 day a week. My fiancé and I have made Mondays the day when we fast, and I have to say, fasting knowing that someone else is doing it as well has made a difference to me. I knew we'd be meeting up at the end of the day to pray together, and for the most part that helped me to focus my thoughts when those hungry moments came. I say for the most part because I do need to share something with you. I had an appointment on Monday which a friend very kindly drove me to. When we got there, she asked if I wanted a coffee, and without thinking, I said yes. Only after I was midway through did I realise, what is it with me and coffee? It's funny how these little habits get so ingrained into you, isn't it? Now, apart from the coffee, throughout my day fasting, I would say that my thoughts didn't often turn to the fact that I wasn't eating. It was quite a busy day, just like last week, and I had loads of stuff to get done. In the moments when I did feel hungry or stop for a quick break, I tried to shut my eyes for a moment and remind myself that I was fasting to be closer to God, to just take a moment to centre my thoughts again. And when I felt the temptation to get a biscuit, reminded myself that there was someone else going without food too, which helped keep me going. On my second week of fasting, there were a couple of things which I noticed. Firstly, when we came together at the end of our workday to pray, we had more time to focus and be in that place because we didn't have to think about preparing a meal. Secondly, this week I found that my prayers came more easily than normal. People and situations came to mind and heart to pray for, and it felt that there was more purpose behind our prayers. I don't know or think that it will necessarily be like that every time, but I wonder whether being in that posture of fasting and feeling a bit weak makes us more sensitive to what God was saying to us in that moment. Just to give it a bit of balance though, we did stick some instrumental music on a bit later to listen to what God might be saying to us, and I found my thoughts at those moments drifting to the list of things that I needed to do for the rest of the week. One of the things that we did pray for though is the situation in Ukraine. It's been absolutely heartbreaking to see what's happening in Europe. Death, destruction, violence, people having to flee their homes, and right on our doorstep. There are people that I know there that I met and spent time with on ministry trips, people that I served alongside in a house of prayer, and now they're separated from their loved ones and having to escape a war. It's hard to know what to do and how to respond. It's hard to get your head around it. As we prayed for Ukraine on Monday, it was a good reminder of a part we can play through our prayers and through fasting. Those are powerful tools that God has given us, and I think we underestimate the significance of them sometimes. In today's episode, I want to talk about fasting in response to this kind of situation. Last week I read from Isaiah 58, which I want to read a bit of again. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. We're called to fast to see God release his justice and to free the oppressed, to care for those in need. We can fast to ask God to bring peace when we see crisis unfolding around us. This kind of fasting was common in biblical times. Over and over again, the Israelites would find themselves in dire straits and would turn to God in corporate prayer and fasting. And over again, God would turn things around. We see this example in the story of Jonah too. The city of Nineveh was corrupt and wicked, and God sent Jonah to warn them that he was going to destroy the city. But they took heed of his words. They humbled themselves and repented with prayer and fasting, and God showed mercy. When Haman was going to destroy the Jews, Esther called a fast before she went to the king, praying that favour and not death would meet her when she approached his throne with her request. In Mark 9, Jesus healed a demon-possessed boy, and said to his disciples that only prayer and fasting in that case would see deliverance. We've seen fasting and prayer in our own history. King George VI called for a national day of prayer and fasting during Dunkirk in 1940, when the British Army was trapped. Millions of people congregated to pray, and a situation that seemed hopeless turned to the miraculous. In the Bible, we see fasting during difficult times in individual stories too. Hannah, who was desperate for a child and broken-hearted at her barrenness, fasted and mourned. God heard her prayer, and she gave birth to Samuel. King David, after his affair with Bathsheba, fasted when his baby son became sick. He fasted and prayed to God to spare his son's life. Though his son died, David knew that prayer and fasting was his only hope. We don't know what the outcome will be to pain we see unfolding around us or in our own lives, but we can do something. We can call upon God. I feel helpless watching the endless news reports about all of the tragedy that's going on in our world, not just in Ukraine. I don't know what to do, but as I thought about what I wanted to share this week, I felt stirred to set aside my time of fasting in this upcoming week and to pray specifically for the situation in Ukraine and for all those affected by it, to pray for us as individuals and as a nation in how we respond to this and to other crises. I want to invite you in joining me to pray and fast in this alongside me. As we listen to this next song, I want to encourage you to press into God where you are. The words are taken straight from the Lord's Prayer. There's so much going on around us, a pandemic, war, crisis after crisis, and in these times, this is when we need to lean on and press into Jesus, to realise our desperate state and need of him to come into our lives, to move in power, for his kingdom and glory to come into our world. So Lord, let your kingdom come, let your will be done on earth as in heaven. Move in power and glory, we ask in your name.